Alright, in this video, Matt is going to show us how to put this beautiful backsplash in.
Take that out too. We're going to mix up some thinset. We're doing a backsplash inside. We don't need very much mud, and you always want to put your water in the bucket first. Thinset. You always want polymortified. We're doing glass tile, so we want to make sure that box is checked. And we're doing a light colored tile, so we want to use a white mortar. What are you looking for in the consistency? Well, I call it butter, but just like a really thick glue, but not too thick. So I'd say that's really good there. Nice and sticky. I'm gonna set it in the shade. Mud gets its initial set right away. If you let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes, re-whip it. You don't need to add any more water. You're gonna prolong your working time. Right now, if we were to go inside and start using it, it'd start getting hard in about, 10, 15, 20 minutes. If you re-whip it, we'll have a couple hours to work with it. Did you restart it?
I didn't, but I'll just
leave it on every time.
I'll just edit it out.
Take that out too. Let's just restart. While we're waiting for our mud to set, we're going to take advantage of the time, get our tile saw ready, and make a couple of cuts. What we're going to do is we're going to take 4 inches off of it to give it closer to a 2/3 bond. When you cut tile, especially glass, you definitely do not want that blade to slow down. Let the blade do the work, let it spin fast, and go slow. And you'll have less chipping. Tile is very difficult to cut. Maybe not difficult. Glass is difficult. Make sure you have the right blade. Make sure it's recommended for glass. Even with the glass blade, you can see the chipping on the back side of the tile. That's another reason we use the white thinset mortar. We'll butter this tile so you won't see that chipping. It's a cut. We'll try and hide it in the corner behind the fridge or somewhere inconspicuous. Another thing I do after you cut it with the wet saw, I have a towel handy, because once you start messing around with mortar, it gets pretty messy if your tile's all wet. Just take your time, keep it clean, do a good job. All right, it's been a little over 10 minutes. During that time, we were able to make a few cuts, get the tile saw set up, and we're ready to go. So we're not gonna add any water, we're just gonna respin it. Very important to clean out the mixing paddle after each mix. If you want to have a nice clean mixing paddle, or if you enjoy not having chunks in your mud. If you have somebody helping you, make sure they understand what clean is. Here we go. We're live, all right? So I butter each tile individually, at least for this one. If I was doing like a mosaic or something, I would use a 16th inch notch trowel, put it on the wall, and stick the tile. But I like doing it this way better, because I feel like if it's sitting on the wall, it dries out, and if you get that skin, like if you let a bucket of mortar sit, you almost get like a skin on it. You want it to be wet. You want it to grab like a glue. Now I always keep a bucket of water. Because doing stuff like this, your hands are gonna get dirty, but then you're gonna touch stuff and make a huge mess. Keep your work nice and clean. I don't know if I said what kind of trowel I was using. It was a 1/4 inch notch trowel. This is a glass tile. We picked this stuff up at Lowe's. Went to a couple different tile stores and we like this stuff. And this is why my fingers get dirty. I try and clean up the edges, and because it's glass, you'll see some of that stuff. Those are the paver guys here in the background. So I'm no expert. This is just so what I do is I just try and run it past. The fridge is gonna be tight to this countertop, so then I just end it right here. I don't have any kind of finish. It just ends. You'll never see it unless you pull the refrigerator out and don't put a refrigerator back in there. For going over the stove, what I did was I just had a scrap piece of trim. I put 2 screws in it inside the stud so it would not twist one side to another. I like to put my cut side going into the corner where it's less likely to be seen. So we reached the top or the bottom of the cabinets. Right here, we're measuring 1.5 inches, and we're going to follow this coursing here. We're still at 1.5 inches. Get over to this tile, and we're just starting to get down to 9/16, 5/8, 5/8, 5/8. So we'll do 2. We're going to minus 1/4 inch because we're using 1/8 spacers. That'll give us 1/8 inch on the bottom, 1/8 inch on the top. So we'll do 2 at 1 1/4 inch and 1 at 1 3/8. So mark it right at 1 1/4 inch on both ends. This one will be 1 3/8. Having a quality tile saw is very important. This tray doesn't move or wiggle back and forth. My old saw did, so it's really nice having a quality saw. So I can actually line it right up, so it just cuts on this side of the line. When you're finishing the cut, when you're coming out of that cut, you want to go extra slow and be extra careful, because that's when you're most likely to chip. You're already going to get a little chippage right here. Yeah, it's like a white sticker on the back of the glass. Again, we got the white thinset, and we're going to put this cut edge right up to the cabinet. So I mean, you would have to go upside down and look underneath the cabinets to see it, but it's going to be hidden pretty well. This is 1 3/8. Here are the 2 1/4 inch. We're gonna dry fit before we butter. That looks like it'll fit nice. Just butter that. It's a little difficult to butter. You're not gonna be able to get your notches going. That should do it. Slowly getting a little bit bigger. I guess the ceiling and floor don't quite match up. We know about it, but nobody else will ever notice. This is our star employee. All right, so we've got some work done since you've last seen me. And we're gonna have to go around this outlet. So I've plugged in my electrical tester here. All right, there it is. I'm not an electrician, so this is just how I do it. All right, so the vacuum shut off when we turned the breaker off. We're gonna double check, so you can get one of these testers for $10 to $20 or maybe even cheaper on Amazon. And it'll let you know if you got juice there. So you wanna test it on something that you know is live. Your power's gonna come in on the right side of the outlet, the gold screws. The silver screws are gonna be your neutral screws, which should not have power. So we'll touch these gold screws over here. And we're still green. So the vacuum did not break down when we shut the breaker off. So that is good. So this outlet's already been replaced. So we're not gonna replace this outlet. We're just gonna remove it so we can cut the tile around it. And what's also gonna need to happen is we're gonna need longer screws for this outlet. So what I do, I'm just gonna take it, I'm just gonna keep it just like that when I do my tile cut. So to mark out this cut, let's take a spacer. Just kind of eyeball where the box is. Put the tape measure on the spacer. And the hole where the outlet screws into, right here, you got like just under probably like a ½ inch where these tabs need to catch the outside of the tile so that it grabs and has something to hold on to. So we're looking at probably 1 3/4 inches from the bottom of that tile. So we'll do 1 3/4 inches. It's a fat Sharpie, so I'm gonna mark up on this side 1 3/4 inches, just above it. We'll cut that line. When that line's cut, we'll end up with 1 3/4 inches. Always eye and ear protection. And with this, we're not gonna be able to cut this line, so we're just gonna keep making slits and work our way out of it. Make sure it's gonna fit before you put mud on it, because if you need to make any adjustments, and if you've already mudded the tile, it's a pain in the butt. So I'd say we're pretty good right there. So we're gonna mud it, install this one. So we're right on that box there. And if your cut doesn't end up being quite exact, obviously the receptacle cover covers the outside of it. And you can buy oversized covers as well. If you do have a big oops, you could still use it. And no one else is gonna notice except for you. Okay, so we've reached the top. We're gonna do a piece of Schluter just like this. It's an aluminum trim for the tile. Gives it a nice finished look. This Backsplash has been kicking my butt. I thought I'd get it done in a day. It's taken 2. I'll take a measurement here. We're right at just below 3/8, about 9 5/16. All right, we're gonna mark it out here. 9 5/16. You end up with a little bit frayed here. Moves up pretty good. So we have our piece of Schluter cut. It does fit. Just slide it in there, it's done. Remove the spacers. We are done laying tile. The next step is going to be to grout the tile. Okay, once you've removed the spacers from the tile, I try and keep my tile pretty clean, but you'll see a little bit of stuff. Try and scrape it off with this razor scraper here. You can buy it in the floor section at your local home remodeling store. The biggest thing is if you have anything like this, where you have your thin set that came through and you're trying to push your tile to keep everything nice and flush, just a regular knife, razor blade. Having a sharp blade goes a long way, so. Everything's looking pretty good here, just a couple of spots. And when you grout, this stuff will wipe off too. Like anything on the face of the tile, like you see me scrape right here, and that's still there. That's gonna come up with a sponge. You can even get it with your fingernail. It's hardly. You wanna get anything big, which I said earlier, to have a bucket of water with a sponge, keep everything clean. So if you did that, you shouldn't have much to clean up. All right, we're gonna mix grout to grout that backsplash in. This is what we have left over from grouting the tile in the pool this morning. But you wanna be really careful because this is not gonna be enough grout to do the backsplash. And you always wanna make sure you have the same lot number when you're doing.
So that's the lot number.
That's gonna be your lot number.
Okay.
So this one, I'm gonna put to the side, I'm gonna label pool grout. That's it. That's all it can be used for. I mean, it'd probably be fine, but you really don't want to see like 2 shades of a different color in your grout. Same as thin set. Water first, then your grout. This grout is going to take a lot less water than the thin set required. This is also sandy grout. I really don't like unsanded grout. They say sanded grout is for 1/8 inch or larger joints. However, I use it on 16th all the time, have been for a really long time, never had a problem. Today we're grouting 1/8 joints. It doesn't take much water at all. Start with less than you think you need. So here's what we're looking for. Pretty loose. You want it like a runny pudding almost. You need to be able to push it in all these joints, and you want it to get all the way to the back of the tile, fill the joint, and you don't want it to be too loose where it falls off the grout float because you're pushing it on the wall. So that's how I like it. Like I said, same as thin set. It gets its first initial set right away. Come back in about 10 minutes, rework it. You'll have a longer working time. This thing will last you forever. You only ever have to buy one if you clean it every time. We're going to be grouting around the finished cabinets and they'll wipe off clean. If you're doing this around unfinished raw wood, the wood will soak in the grout and it'll stay in the wood. So we're going to start with a grout bag. And I cut a very small hole at the end of it. Take your bucket scoop. Just gotta mix this stuff around a little bit. That's like the setup pretty good. Even almost 2 scoops. Otherwise it's gonna get messy. I like to use this to do the top. This joint right here. I'll do the sides. So with the grout bag, what I'm doing, I made sure the air was out of it. I'm just twisting it just like frosting on a cake. If you don't use the grout bag, you just push it in with the grout float, which works really good, maybe even better. But This takes a ton of time. And you can see it's getting all the way to the wall inside the joints. So it works just as good. This trim is not finished yet, it's not painted, but it doesn't matter because I'm gonna paint it. It's really just like the raw wood that's gonna be stained because this would discolor the wood. Hold off on your kitchen sink when you're doing a backsplash. If you're doing like a remodel, it makes a world of difference to remove the kitchen faucet. Not sink, excuse me. Kitchen faucet. And then you might as well upgrade it because everything else will be nicer. I always start with the biggest one, but you never know what's going to work best. Nice big healthy scoop. I kind of just bring it across. And then as we're working our way towards the edge, you want to push it in, pull it against, like push it again, pull it towards what's already been grouted. Because let's say you push it in this way and you want to pull it that way, you're going to create holes. So just keep pulling it towards what's already done. Like I said, things will just keep falling, and that's how we'll fill this bottom. Most grout floats, this one doesn't. This one is square on each end. If you look at this one, it's got rounded edges, and the other side used to be square. I like to use the rounded edges for doing this, because by the time you start wiping the grout off, you might even take a little more. And you don't want that grout line meeting the countertop to be recessed into the wall. Sometimes you do end up pulling the wrong way, just getting into motion. I try and go back over it when I do that, just to make sure it's full. See, we already hit the top. Just run your float right over it. If you know more, drop a comment below. Let me know how I can improve my job. This is just how I do it. Make sure you have anything covered that could be damaged. A new floor. Oh yeah, definitely wear old clothes while doing this. You do not plan on painting your ceiling or haven't recently painted it and have touch-up paint, it's a good idea to put a piece of blue tape right here. Ceilings are generally painted with a flat paint that is not wipeable. So it is easier once this job is done just to take a paintbrush and cut that in. And we could do some painting videos too. Drop a comment below. Who there in the back, what was that?
Why do you use blue tape?
Blue tape has less adhesion and is less damaging to fragile surfaces. So like a finished surface, your drywall, wood. You can see even after letting this mud set, it continues wanting to set. See how stiff it's getting? But if you take it and you just turn it, it gets soft again. So it's a good wrist workout, or it could be a bad wrist workout, however you want to look at it. You see the countertop is just a little bit short. The tile just didn't clear it. That's why I put the grout bag there. I keep pushing grout in there. Once you get the hang of it, don't be afraid to grab a bunch of it and just work it. Don't worry if you get your wires dirty, they'll still work. The more you work it, the more it sets up. You work it in the bucket, it gets softer, but keep pushing it into these holes where it's dry. The sheetrock is very porous. It takes the water out of it. So as you keep working this stuff back and forth, you know, this becomes, just want to make sure you're getting all your joints nice and full. Don't worry about the mess. We're going to clean that up in a second. Almost done here. Push it in there. You have a nice joint there. Before you bring the water in, I like to just go with the grout float. Scrape down anything loose, anything extra. And don't panic. You're gonna be able to wipe this down just fine. If you're outside working the pool, I had to do that in 2 different steps. It's hot down there. This is quartz countertop. I've actually never grouted on top of quartz, so I hope it cleans up. We always use quartzite, which is a step up from granite, or granite. But we also like to, when we do a remodel project, go with what's trending. Everybody loves this stuff. It's what they're putting in new homes, and unless you're gonna hold on to this till you die, you always have to look for an exit plan too, or if you're gonna resell. So we did quartz. Let's see if it cleans up. All right, get your water, nice new sponge. I would suggest just buying a 3-pack because you usually get a better deal. I'm gonna clean my countertops out first, make sure they come clean. So it looks like the quartz cleans up really well. Heard good things about it, I've just never used it. Plus the installers really like it because if you do a waterfall, 45s, this material doesn't chip, it cuts really smoothly. It's like 1/3 of the weight of granite. I guess it's just as strong. The granite's a lot heavier, chips easier. So I don't know if it's a push on the installers is why it's everywhere. But there it is. They have the veins in it just like a piece of granite. You want this to be pretty dry. Like this is still pretty soft. We can do it. This is good. But if it's any wetter than this, it's just gonna smear everywhere. You want it to get, so I take this from being submerged. Probably let about half the water out so it's still really wet. Like I just kind of wash it. Look, there's another one. Who grouted this? It's only because I'm on camera.
Yeah. So you're always double checking your work when you go back through it with a sponge.
Yeah, absolutely. So I call this washing it, where you got a really wet sponge, and what you're doing is just kind of getting everything off the face of the tile. in a circular motion. I flip it over when it gets too dirty. And then just watch your joints, make them smooth. Let's get the tile cleaned up. Let's do one section at a time. I'll call that a section. Take your sponge back to the bucket. Your water is going to get really dirty right away. Don't worry. All your sand and stuff will drop down to the bottom. The second rinse, get the sponge as dry as you can. I flip it over. I'll do 2 passes like that. Rinse it out real good. Squeeze it as tight as you can. Same thing. Do 2 passes. The second pass, you don't have near as much as you do on the first one. You'll still see some streakage and a haze. You're gonna go ahead and let that dry. And I'd hit that tomorrow morning. Well, right now we're in the afternoon. So yeah, it'll be tomorrow morning, just Windex paper towel. Spray some Windex on it, do a wipe, throw the paper towel away. Do a wipe, throw the paper towel away. Otherwise you're just smearing it around. You want to wipe it, throw it away. I already did it with the pool because it's set up so fast that as soon as I was done grouting, and like you see a little mark there, now's the time to get it when everything's wet. The whole purpose of this channel is to purchase a boat. And we also want to educate people how to do work on their own houses.
Houses, cars.
Bartend, bodies, whatever.
We're doing how-to videos.
How to live our life. We started in Minnesota. We come from a family of 8. There's 6 kids total. And we've been doing stuff our whole lives. And we decided to leave Minnesota. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's really cold in the winter. And summer's about 3 months long. It's beautiful, but it's short. So we're in South Florida. My brother quit his job, came down here. I came down here, restarted. It's a land of opportunity. Okay, as I was talking about finished surfaces and grout, this is a finished cabinet. So you can see, cleans up really nicely. So this is an exciting step in construction because now the stove can go in, the pop filler can go in, the hood vent can go in. Oh, you're my brother. Please like and subscribe. We just want to make sure we get that final haze off. The best way that I like to do it, and I'm sure there's 100 other ways to do it, it's very simple. Paper towel, Windex. This way, you just spray on. And I got it pretty good with the sponge, but when you do it with the paper towel, just go over a small area, I flip it over. There's a little bit of dirt, not much, it's really clean, but I'll discard that. I'll move to the next area. That way you're not taking your dirt and rubbing it around. You're removing your dirt.
It truly does look beautiful. It's got like a nice, it's almost like a...
Yeah, so one thing is about this tile, I got it from Lowe's, it's a 3 inch by 12 inch tile. It's got mixed reviews and they got like 3 stars. I've used it a couple times in the past. I really like it. It's listed as like a clip of like a white glass. It's not white. It has like a small like light blue tint to it. So if you're going for white, this is not going to work, but for me it worked out really well. I can put the product in the description below, but there you have it, folks. It's all cleaned up with Windex paper towel. This is a finished product now. But there's the backsplash. We're gonna do a closet organizer on the next video here.